Hi, I'm Aubrey Hargis.
I'm David Hargis.
And today we have a great show for you all lined up. We are going to be talking about the start of the school year as everybody's getting prepared. We're going to answer a little bit of viewer mail. We're going to play a mystery bag game.
Mystery bag game.
Yes, I'm sure there'll be a dad joke in there since it's become kind of a tradition. And we're going to talk about the joys of parts cards, that classic Montessori material. Well, I want to start out with this. I just want to lay this out there. I know there's a lot of buzzing going on out there, and I see it in our community. We see it every single day. Members are posting pictures of themselves, like feeling so proud for embarking on this organizational journey that is this whole part of this new school year build up.
That's right.
Right? So this is the homeschool version of that classic back to school season. Do you remember shopping? Did you ever go shopping with your parents probably your mom, right? Who was a school teacher herself. You probably remember like the back to school season at I don't know where you shopped, Walmart?
Oh, well, we had a local, if this will be a special call out.
Grocery store?
Well, we didn't shop at a grocery store for groceries. No, there was a store in Waco that where I grew up in Waco, near Waco, Texas. But Waco was the big town that we would go to, and we would shopping at, first back to school at Wieners. That was the name of the store. Now, I'm sure it's just a fine last name, but there was something embarrassing about being a teenager having to buy your clothes at a store called Wieners.
Always a great story to start with. For the power hour.
I mean, it's not the owner's fault, but...
Okay. But did they have school supplies there? That's what I want to know.
They didn't have school supplies. They had back-to-school clothing.
Okay.
Yeah. But no, for school supplies, we went to Walmart, I think.
Yeah.
Dollar
What do you
General.
remember about that experience?
I remember being... well, the smell, I think, actually. I remember the smell of the pencils. And
that pencil shaving smell is probably ingrained into my brain.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And picking out a lunchbox, and picking.
Oh yeah, that's very classic.
And picking out.
Do you remember what was on your lunchbox? Probably like Superman. Or...
Yeah, right. I don't remember. I mean, I loved Garfield, and probably I'm certain it was like what was big then, like G.I. Joe and. Garfield and Snoopy, things like that. Yeah, for sure. Care Bears were really big.
I remember about the lunchboxes that they were actually a tactile experience too, because they would raise them up, right? At least it was the edges, if not like parts of the image itself was kind of like raised. So I remember.
Yeah, it had like that? Yeah. Remember? Yeah, right. And Trapper Keepers. Binder, do you remember Trapper Keepers?
Of course.
Yeah, for sure. And those are also something you would get to design in terms of, or you'd pick out your design. This is like, I'm going out into the world, and this is me, world. I'm Trapper Keeper Design X.
I loved picking out school supplies, and I have to say, I think it was kind of a different world back then. What I remember as a teacher is the school supply, the actual school supply list has just been getting longer and longer and longer and longer. By the time I taught kindergarten, the school supply lists were kind of ridiculous. There were like 50 things on it, and it was everything from Kleenex or tissues to I don't know, like just basic supplies you would expect your school to provide for the kids, but the parents were actually providing it. We had baby wipes on there, and I mean, just all kinds of stuff went on that school supply list. But when I was a kid, what I remember from the school supply shopping was the basics. You wanted a little container for your pencil, like you got brand new pencils that time of year.
A little pencil case maybe, or
maybe a little pencil case and fresh box of crayons. Yes.
Did you ever get the crayons that had the sharpener inside the crayon box?
Yes, I actually was obsessed with crayons. I'm sure you won't be surprised. And it's not necessarily the colors of the crayons that I was obsessed with. This will make total sense to you. I was obsessed with the names of the crayons. You know, the names of the colors. Were you also obsessed with the names of the colors? No, okay, yeah. Well, some of us are. I was also, very, I really loved words and poetry and reading, and I just felt like the names of the crayons themselves were very poetic. And
Sure.
so I just really internalized them. I would use them not because of the color that they made on the page, but because of how they were named. And so some of my favorites that I remember were crimson. Such a good color. I mean, I don't know, the color is kind of like...
I mean, crimson, I don't think they made
like
that one
blood
up.
red,
But some of
right?
these
But
names they did create.
cornflower.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I loved cornflower. That was probably one of my favorites, and I don't know why. It wasn't the color of corn, and I don't know. Maybe there is a cornflower out there. Is there like a light blue cornflower out there? I don't know.
I think yes.
But that was
Folks
one of
out
my
there in the
favorites.
world, let us know. Is there a blue cornflower?
Might be, but I still remember.
And does it match the color of the crayon
I think
that Aubrey is remembering from 1987?
I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is that as homeschoolers, this is a great time for us because it's actually, you might be tempted to go school supply shopping right now.
Yep.
But actually, you should wait.
If you can.
If you can, you should wait until everyone else goes back to school and then everything is on sale, because that's actually the best time to buy school supplies. So if you can wait until September when, and here everybody goes back to school in August. So if you can wait until September and keep that temptation at bay to go school supply shopping, you can get some amazing deals on school supplies that are like,
Oh,
what?
get this.
What?
Yes, the deals are good. I met somebody, their kids don't go back to school till after Labor Day,
Right?
and they get off by Memorial Day. It's like classic school schedule. Remember that? You used to go from Labor Day to Memorial Day, and
do.
now kids start in even as early as July.
Yes, that is true.
So I know that has nothing to do with buying school supplies, but I'm just remembering this. Because you were saying like you have to wait till September, and I was
But
like,
honestly, it's a good point to bring up for homeschoolers because you can make your own school schedule. You don't necessarily have to follow along with the same school schedule that your kid has always done. If you're new to homeschooling, you might think you have to start on a particular day. But actually, I know homeschoolers who have already had their first day of school. They had it actually at the end of July. Why? Because they felt like starting school. Like they felt like initiating like a new beginning at this time. But your new beginning doesn't have to be on any particular day. It doesn't have to be the day your district decides. If you're a homeschooler, you can really pick and choose the day that you want to consider your start. And your start also, my biggest recommendation for that is your start doesn't have to be on a particular day.
no.
It can just kind of filter in. And in fact, that's kind of the way that we always start our school years is just kind of an unfolding over time. We're just like stepping in. Maybe we start a subject area. And we've actually already begun the process with our kids just by sitting down and asking them some of their goals for the school years, asking some of the things that they want to learn, and having that conversation. And I actually take notes every year about like what their feelings are. And often before I buy curriculum, I also consult them and I ask them if it sounds like it's fun for them and if they are interested in giving a particular resource a try. So involving our kids in the decision-making process, that can be kind of the beginning of this whole season of the back to school. It doesn't have to. I think a lot of people are feeling the pressure to actually like start doing the thing. And I sense it every single year from our community. Like there's this kind of general panic of, okay, I was supposed to have prepared before, but I didn't, right? I didn't do my homework. Well, and now it's the school year, and school is supposed to have started, and I haven't started the school with my kids. And so, like, what do I do? Like, what do I do right now? Tell me how to do this whole homeschooling thing right now.
That's right.
I hear it over and over and over and over. It's not uncommon to have that feeling, and I myself have felt that many, many times, so I know what it feels like. But the best answer to that is not to start all at once. It's
Totally.
to start with one tiny little thing and build upon it. And one of those things that you might be really focusing on right now, even with the kids, is preparing that environment.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, organizing, wrapping your heads around things, giving it kind of a slow push off rather than like a startling.
Yeah, refreshing the materials on your shelf if you haven't done that in a while,
Yeah.
or doing some spring cleaning in the fall. Any kind of mental preparation you might do to sort of help the rhythm of life begin to change into that fall season. Here in the North America, it's going to get cooler, or in the Northern Hemisphere, it's going to get cooler. We're going to be into like the holiday season, and kickoff to school for me, we were talking about like memories and supplies and things, like that's a part of it. Is like going back to school is the beginning of a period of life that includes, for me, it was my birthday was in October, is still Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas. There was just this like something about that fall period, and school, going back to school is a part of that in my mind. So I think it's a great time to sort of thinking kind of what we want the next half of our, or the last half of our year to look like, and thinking about sort of the events that might be coming ahead that we celebrate or participate in, and how we're going to kind of ease into that moment, starting now with this back to school.
Yeah, it's going to be lovely. Well, we actually got some mail.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on.
What?
This is important, folks. Yes, Palomino St. James confirms there is corn flour, also used in tea. It's blue.
Ooh, I will go look that up.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Palomino.
So
Palomino?
I'm giving you partial credit though, because we still haven't confirmed that the color of the crayon you saw is blue.
Is
Because what if it was
that
yellow?
particular
Like, because
blue?
corn is yellow.
I bet it is, though.
We'll
Yeah.
No. All right.
Those crayon people surely knew what they were doing.
Guess what time it is?
It's mail time.
It's time for the mail, man.
Hey,
That's
man,
right.
Let's open this mail.
Let's reach into that and grab a member question from viewers just like you.
Okay.
What do we got
Are
here?
you ready? So
You printed this.
No, this was literally mail that came in, of course.
That's all right. Yes. Oh, right. Of course. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brittany, for sending us some mail this morning. Would you like to read the mail?
I certainly would. Dear child of the Redwoods, I'm planning out my daughter's official start to school, and I'm looking at the life science section of Curious Critters. That's about zoology.
Yes.
On the cards, it shares to talk about them, go see them, read books about them, etc. Curious critters, that is. In my brain, and probably because of social media, I'm thinking that I need to be purchasing puzzles to go with classification cards, finding activities, etc., because the word classification is used. Is it really as simple as talking about what we observe and reading books? Because the 3-part card type things are just not something my daughter seems to get into.
Yeah.
That's a great question.
Oh my gosh, there's so much to unpack here. I'm really excited to dig into this one.
First off, thank you for sharing your question with us. It's a question we get a lot, so I think it'll be educational for a lot of folks out there.
Yeah, it's something I also remember really struggling with when we had a 3-year-old at home.
Yeah, I'm not sure how old
4-year-old at
the
home.
person's child is, but
You know, she didn't say.
Yep.
If she's watching, she might chime in. But it doesn't really matter the age exactly. But I do remember having this question myself.
yeah. Well, let's start with some basics.
Actually,
Oh,
I was wondering if you could do the top-down camera.
of course.
Is that possible? Because I would like to, I'd like you to open up that letter back up, because she mentioned some of our materials specifically when she asked this question.
Yes, hold on. I have to get the top camera ready. Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to...
Uh-oh. Reset. Okay. Yes. And
just making sure we're all balanced here.
ta-da! Look at that. On the fly. Ready.
Awesome. Okay. So here we go. I actually wanted, because I know that Brittany knows what she's talking about when she talks about our materials, but I wanted our viewers here to also see where she was coming from, where she found these. So she mentions curious critters, all right, which is not probably a Montessori topic that you know about, but it is a Montessori topic that we have chosen to represent part of our life science curriculum.
That's right.
Yes. So here we go. So I'm actually going to show where to find the Curious Critters card that Brittany mentioned. So this is in our new Montessori planning card index box. And so if you happen to have a set of these and you're a current member, then you're welcome to follow along and choose your own card and take this little journey with us. But this is the card that Brittany is talking about. It's Level 1 Zoology, Curious Critters. You want to read some of the activities on this list?
Yeah, so level 1 is obviously the first level. This is the primary, so these are the lessons you start with your 2 or 3 year old. So some of the things you'll be doing are reading about animals, animals in the world, animal babies, classifying fish, classifying amphibians, reptiles, birds, and classifying mammals.
Yep.
So seems kind of complicated for a 2-year-old, but actually that is exactly the expectation we have in Montessori. We really know the child is capable of some really complex stuff and let them have at it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Now, if I didn't know what this stuff meant, how would I know?
Well...
Like, what is it? Yeah. What is animal babies?
Okay. Well, that is the next step, is these lessons can all be found inside our foundational lessons guides.
Sure.
Right? So let's just open this up, and can you find Curious Critters for us? Okay. Thank you.
Let's see. Oh.
And I'm gonna pull out. There's also a Level 2 Curious Critters. I don't know if and there is a Level 3 Curious Critters. So I'm going to kind of go over this. So you find the Curious Critters section?
So for those of you, I know we have a lot of members who join us on this. If you are in the complete or unlimited curriculum, you have this material. It's available on the member site. And if you can't find it, let us know.
Yes. Okay. All right. I've got everything laid out in front of us that we need right now.
So here's our Level 1.
So we've got Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 Curious Critters. And here are some of the things that you will find in these. David already read the Curious Critters Level 1, classification, classifying amphibians, reptiles, birds, mammals, animal babies. And then in Level 2, we've got reading about vertebrates, identifying vertebrates and bone scrubbing, classifying types of chordates. No one would know what these lessons are supposed to be without some extra information, right?
That's right.
Here in Level 3, this probably looks a little bit familiar to those of you who have been in Montessori for a while. It's parts of a fish, parts of an amphibian, parts of a reptile, parts of a bird, like parts of cards that identify some vocabulary that you would use to describe these parts of these creatures.
And now I'm going to pause real quick because I think this is such a beautiful part of the Montessori curriculum.
Yeah.
This leveling here, which we worked on over the last several months to sort of reorganize in a way for us to refine. But I just love this progression. So at the very earliest level, you are introducing classification, like what are amphibians, what are birds. And as you progress, then the next one, you're building on that knowledge. So now it's about chordates. So invertebrates, invertebrates, classifying types of chordates, which are vertebrates. And then here in Level 3, when they're at that 4 or 5, probably around 4 or 5, they're continuing, but now they've spiraled even deeper into the subject. Now they're doing parts of an amphibian. So they're starting with classifying an amphibian, then they're introducing some of those internal organs or components, like specifically whether they have a backbone or not, and then getting into the deeper level, which is what are the basic parts of a frog, for example. And you'll just continue doing that deeper and deeper as you go into lower L and then into upper L and so forth. So it's a beautiful curriculum.
Our constellation themes, they might pull from a Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 in the same packets.
Yeah.
How do we How do we stack that?
How do we stack that?
Yeah.
Well, we always provide inside the constellation in those thematic lessons, we always provide guidance. We call it anyone can play. Everyone can play, and we talk about how you would make a lesson more or less complex depending on the age and readiness of a child. So you might take some parts of it out, or you might add parts to it,
Right.
meaning steps or components of the lesson itself, in order to kind of match it to the level of the child.
Right.
So anyway, I'm curious about what are animal babies. I mean, I know what animal babies are, but
Okay.
I didn't actually.
Let's just pick out the lesson.
But it's
for
actually a
us.
cool
Yeah.
lesson. Give a lesson on matching animal babies to their adult forms. And then there's the steps here: gather photos, show the photos, discuss the changes, etc., etc. So this is a matching activity. I know we've actually done this.
We actually
in
provided
Constellation,
this. Yeah. We have
But
provided
you know, when I worked on this stuff, I could not remember what animal babies was. So it's really nice.
Oh my goodness! There's
To
just
go and look.
when there's thousands of Montessori lessons
totally.
to pick and choose from. Having a complete step-by-step description of exactly what you're supposed to do is super, super helpful.
Yeah.
All right, so this is exactly what Brittany has been talking about, where she started to kind of ponder what to do with her child.
She pulled the card. She
Yeah.
picked an activity from it.
Yeah, looked up the lessons,
Looked it up. Is like,
and then was like, but my kid isn't super into parts cards.
yeah. So what are parts cards?
flip us-
Are we going to talk about parts cards next?
We
or-
will.
Oh, good.
I don't know how. There, see, I knew it was pretty easy just to flip us around. Okay,
Oh,
just
wait.
so we can have a discussion about this. Okay, so there's there could be a lot of resistance to cards
Yeah.
in kids. And one of those reasons is because when we are using cards with kids, they can perceive us as trying to manipulate them into performing
Yeah.
for us. And also, just cards themselves aren't necessarily that interesting. And so a lot of new to Montessori parents come into the Montessori curriculum, and what do we see first? We see just tons of kids doing cool activities on rugs with cards. And we think that we're just going to print a whole bunch of these cards, put them on our shelves, and some kind of magic will happen. I thought
Right.
this, and I'm saying this
Yeah.
because I also thought this, and I had been a teacher for a long time before I had kids of my own. But I also was kind of swindled into this idea that cards themselves do a lot of the teaching, and that there's a lot of magic in the cards themselves, and that every single Montessori raised kid is going to just gravitate to the cards. They're going to do their classification and learn all about the different parts, and then I'll like check it off on my did a great job, category by providing the cards.
Yeah, and I want to underscore this real quick.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not just with Montessori. We make this mistake all the time.
that's
We
true.
think that the material or the lesson components has the magic. And I worked in educational technology for years and years, and it was the most obvious fault point. There was such an enormous investment in the technology, or in the, like we can feed the specific lesson, or we can gamify this
Yeah.
lesson, and it doesn't work because the magic is not in the material. It's true in Montessori as it is in anything else. The magic is in the philosophy and the approach. So just want to kind of underscore that if you're like thinking about this, that's the truth. That's why you don't need to go out and spend $1 billion on materials, because
That's right.
the theory and the philosophy are what have the power. Anyway,
Yeah, so I just want to say this is a very, very common experience for parents to have. You get it, and it happens with practical life as well. And I'm going to just give Montessori examples because that's my primary background, although you are absolutely correct. Parents will see a whole bunch of beautiful practical life trays set up. They'll say, okay, so Montessori is about shelves and trays. I will create a whole bunch of trays with these cute little tonguing activities. And then lo and behold, their child never chooses the stuff on the shelf, right? So the question a lot of parents kind of trap themselves into asking and really having to wrestle with is if they don't notice that their child is interested in the things that they have set up for them or printed for them or provided for them that the Montessori community deems as like great for kids. What are we getting comments?
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Good,
I'm just
good.
following along.
Is it about the parts cards?
It is.
Yes. Okay. I'll dig into those in a second. We tend to think that our child just isn't interested in it.
Yeah.
You know, so I took all this time, I bought this curriculum, I printed out these materials, I spent hours cutting them up and preparing them, and I put this whole thing together for my child, and then, I don't care. I'm gonna go play with my toys. It's so common, right? And so what I wanna say is that if this is happening to you, it's not about you, and it's not because your child doesn't like Montessori or like the materials. And in fact, your child might, you know, I remember having a 3-year-old thinking like, my kid's just not interested in parts cards, I guess.
Yeah.
But the question I should have been asking myself is, what is it about this that isn't engaging my child?
That's right.
And what could I be doing? Like, what purpose is this material serving us right now? Because if it's not, if it doesn't feel relevant to your child, like if you're giving your child it could be a beautiful little practical life set up with an adorable spoon you found at the thrift store and the cutest little bowls in the world and a little puff of cotton balls there, and you've practiced it and it's just so beautiful and so enticing, and your child's like, then we need to be asking ourselves, what is this for?
Yeah.
Does my child need this activity? What purpose is it serving them? You know, like, do they already know how to use the tongs? And is that why it's just not interesting to them?
That's right.
Right? Or is it because it's not practical? And if you were to put something in there instead, like, I don't know, I was going to say broccoli, but give me something that melon balls or,
good idea, yeah.
Yeah, like, or something maybe that your child really loves that they don't get as super often. Like, for our kids, it was probably those dried cranberries.
Oh,
They
yes.
loved those dried cranberries.
Yep.
So you might look at the whole purpose of the work itself, and then if you can ask yourself the right questions, it'll lead you to the answer that you need. Okay, tell me what's in the comments.
Okay. Yes, Stacy says, I feel this way about the cards too. We are gradually getting into them.
Yeah.
5.5 has not been interested until now. There's definitely pushback. Yeah. And then Angelica says, this is my first year of homeschooling. Today I started with the farm package. Week 1, the farm has its own cards. My question is, should I blend those with the foundational cards? So Angelica, we'll answer your question later, but let's, because Stacy's question I think is more specific to the topic here.
Yes.
But we'll come back to you, Angelica, no problem.
Okay, so first off, ask yourself the question, what purpose is this serving, you know, my child right now in our homeschool journey? And that will help you get closer. Second, you should realize that if your child isn't interested in a work, there are things that you can do to help them to become more interested if you feel like the activity itself is super valuable. So let's look at parts cards and kind of narrow down on the parts cards themselves. This is, you know, an activity that does come from our life science unit, but not zoology. We're actually going to be looking at fungus, something from our mushroom theme. So let's do the top down again, and let's take a look at some parts cards and talk about why we use them and what they can teach your child.
Oh, we got to dial in the overhead camera.
I like these. Okay, I actually I printed out and cut out a whole bunch of these beautiful parts cards. They're all kind of mixed up, friends, for the portobello mushroom.
Again, if you're a member at Constellation or Complete or Unlimited, you'll find this in the archive. This is our mushroom theme. We did it, I think, in April.
Yeah, I'll show you the cover for it.
Yeah, so that'll be in the archive. You can go
Looks
grab
like
a copy.
this. Yep. Okay, so this comes from mushroom. You're going to need for this activity some colored pencils and a regular pencil or whatever writing utensil you like, some scissors, and I printed out all of these and cut them out myself, but I did not print out this last page because I wanted our members to be able to see what it looks like before. So I'm going to ask you to cut this out after we talk about these little parts.
Okay.
Okay. So we've got this first card here. Do you want to just tell the names of them?
Yeah, so this, we would call this the actual name of the card or the words on the card.
Just explain the parts
Sure.
cards.
So this is actually a 4-part card.
It is 4 parts.
And the question was about a 3-part, but they're essentially an extension of one is an extension of the other.
They're the same thing.
Yeah. So, and Stacy has added another comment that we'll come back to in a second that this actually matches.
Yeah.
So this is called the control card, and it shows you what the final form of it is going to look like. In this case, we have the picture at the top and the word at the bottom. Mycelium, and then up here in red you can see the part that goes with it. It's the part of the mushroom that's called the mycelium. Over here you have what we call the picture card, and then down here is the word, and so these will be cut apart separately, and the child will put them together, and then they will use the control card to verify their work. It's a control of error, right? And then the 4th part, which we can add to extend this further, is a definition or description. And in this case, it says the mycelium is the underground part of the mushroom. It is made up of the entire web-like network of hyphae. And you'll lay those out in order. Now, you don't have to use all of the cards. The 4th part doesn't have to come into the picture if you're not ready for it. Your child's not ready for it. Totally fine. But that's kind of the classic. Now, this is an actual parts card, as in parts of something. There are we do lots of variations where I know in farm we did one of like farm equipment. It's the same. We used the same format, but it wasn't
4-part cards.
Yeah, it's just another kind of way to help the child learn the terminology and then use this control of error method to check their work, and then you can extend that with this definition. And actually, Stacy says child hasn't been interested in the early primary. I started incorporating objects and figurines, and that helps. He's also starting to read, so I think that has sparked further interest. Yeah, and I think that's where that 4th part can be really exciting because it kind of makes it feel more substantive. If you're learning to read, it feels more, I don't know, grown up or something. I don't know. It feels bigger.
Yes. Okay, that's a great introduction to these. This little setup that we have actually comes with other things too. We have a little booklet that goes with it. I didn't print that out. No, this is not the booklet.
Oh, okay.
But we do have a little booklet the control booklet that we usually have along with the set.
Which puts these two together in a booklet form.
You can make a little control book that's just like a little book to read.
Go back and watch our video on little books. It's a good one.
David has also been blowing, upon request, he's been blowing up the picture for our parts cards and including it. And you can cut it out. You can have your child watercolor it. You can watercolor it with your child. You can use it with your colored pencils just as a coloring page activity. You can use it to teach yourself how to draw that.
Oh, you could trace
that
it.
Thing. Yeah, you could trace it. So it's kind of open-ended, but I wanted to show that as something that's in there. But Stacy actually hit upon something that's super, super important that is very rarely talked about when we talk about parts cards, and that is to make whatever it is that you are learning about a hands-on, tangible experience. And there are several ways to do it. So I'm going to tell you, just like this, like the cards themselves, friends, aren't that interesting. You can quote me on that. Like, if it's just cards, like,
it's the new title of this episode.
Parts cards can be boring by themselves.
Parts cards are meh.
Right? Like, parts cards are meh. They are meh unless you are using them in order to create this purposeful learning.
Yeah, because
in
the
a
material
collaborative
doesn't
experience.
have any power. I mean, it can have beauty in terms of its thoughtfulness of design.
Sure. And it can be very satisfying to do the big layout on the...
But it's not in the materials itself that you'll find the
So
magic.
let's talk about some of the reasons why we do this in the first place. Okay, what are some of the purposes of parts cards? And yes, you can fulfill these purposes in other ways. Parts cards is just one way that you can fulfill the purpose. One of the primary purposes is actually to introduce vocabulary to your child.
Yep.
Right? So it doesn't matter if your child is learning to read or not. It's the vocabulary is super important. And in fact, if you wanted to teach these vocabulary words to your child, we call it nomenclature in Montessori. So we've got like gills and cap and spores and stipe and hyphae and the annulus and the vulva and the fruiting body and the scales. These are the nomenclature, which is like just the vocabulary.
Proper names of these
that we
parts.
are, the proper names, the words that we want our child to become familiar with, so that they can then use these words in real life. All right. So the whole purpose of this is so that when your child goes out into the wilderness of your backyard or the local park or wherever you are, and they find a group of mushrooms, they're going to be like, ooh, look, this cap is different from this mushroom's cap. And oh, look, the stipe on this one is really, really tall. And the stipe on this one is really, really short. Oh, I wish I could see what the spores look like. They're so tiny. This mushroom must have had a whole lot of spores. I think they have billions of spores, right? There must have been billions of spores because there's mushrooms all over our yard. All right, without the vocabulary to talk about the amazing nature in our world, your child is stunted in their development. Okay, and I know that can be like a gut-wrenching type of thing to say, but this is actually it's really, really important that we give our children the language to describe their world with.
It's really empowering.
Now, I know that there are parents out there with kids who have big developmental delays and kids who naturally engage with the world in a different way other than language.
Yep. Okay,
we are totally familiar with neurodiversity, and so you can just take this little pocket and just poof, say, okay, you know what, I'm going to let that go. We're going to just talk right here about
the purpose that as conceived for these different parts.
Right. Yes. So what we want in Montessori is we want your child to have a vocabulary to describe their world with. And the things that are going to be interesting about this vocabulary is the connections that your child makes over time. So, for example, when you introduce this idea that a mushroom has gills, if your child is familiar with fish, that's going to be kind of funny to them and surprising. And if they don't make that connection right away, you can make it. You can ask them, do you know any other animals that, or any other living organisms that have gills, right? And then you can do a little pretend play with them, pretend to be the fish until they guess fish. And then you can talk about what gills do for a fish, and that mushroom also has gills, but that the purpose is different.
Yeah, and if you're using that fourth part, you might know what that purpose is.
Yes. And I also had this big epiphany when I was teaching our own children, and I had this epiphany after the parts cards just weren't really working for me, and our kids weren't really interested in them on their own. I was like, oh, there must be something wrong with the parts cards. And then it dawned on me that I was not making it fun enough for them. that there were ways to make it more engaging. And so, speaking of gills, one of the very first parts of something that we did together was parts of a fish.
Oh.
And do you remember that big fish pillow that you have? It's around here somewhere.
Yes, we couldn't find it.
I will never throw that thing away. I will never, because I used it in the classroom and I used it with our own kids. And
I know.
If you have like something tangible, like so for here with a mushroom, you would actually get a real portobello mushroom. That's what we encouraged our members to do, is actually have one and then use these cards along with the dissection of it, so that you can say, okay, this says that mushrooms have gills, and then let's find the gills on our mushroom.
Yeah.
And then they're actually like picking it apart and finding the gills and feeling them and looking at them. So you're taking the parts cards, you're giving your child the vocabulary to describe something that is in real life. Now, there are some things that not all children can explore with their hands in real life. And I'm thinking particularly of jellyfish is really difficult for, not everyone has access to a jellyfish to put their hands on.
Not all jellyfish
right?
are
And not all
to be
jellyfish,
touched.
right. You really shouldn't be like messing around with jellyfish. Right, and so that's a reason that parts cards can actually be very useful in a way that, like, if your child cannot actually viscerally experience it, then you can introduce with the parts cards because it's kind of abstract to them, and then maybe you create your jellyfish out of recycled materials or out of a model, out of clay. We often recommend in our lessons to use air dry clay or just regular Play-Doh in order to make a model of something. I think we did that recently, not with maybe we did it with the mushrooms. I think there was a clay activity in there to make the different cap shapes.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, we had definitely had activities about the cap shapes.
Yeah. So it's really, it is like it's just a resource for you. And we actually include the fourth part. This is actually a lower elementary. The fourth part is actually mostly for lower elementary because it just provides great reading material for children who are beginning or intermediate readers. But we include it for everyone in our theme packs because we want to give you information to share with your child. So maybe you don't know what an annulus is. I didn't before I started researching the parts of the mushroom. There's the annulus. You're going to see if you can find it here. But you can read it to your child. The annulus, this says, the annulus, also called a ring, just like my ring here. It's what is left when the cap and gills grow and rupture. Rupture means to break apart. They grow and rupture the partial veil that has protected them when young. Right, so
and here you go. Here's the
and this is making
card.
me think you can show your child a ring if you have a ring to show them. You know, and maybe you start to call it your annulus for fun. I don't know, that's the kind of silly thing that I would do with my kids. Or maybe, oh my gosh, maybe you take a piece of yarn and you have your child pretend to be the mushroom and you wrap the yarn around them and say, I'm putting an annulus around you. Now you have an annulus, right? And if you have an older child, you're making the connection between, like, why is it called an annulus? And are there any other words that are similar to annulus, right? Annular. Annual, right? And so that kind of lends itself. So parts cards can serve a lot of purposes. Vocabulary is probably the biggest purpose that it serves.
But it's not the only one.
It's not the only one. There's also visual discrimination.
Yeah,
We
and
found the annulus
having
here.
a conversation, stimulating discussion, which actually goes to Brittany's question about, kind of starting to loop back to her question.
Yes.
Is this really all there is? And kind of the answer is sort of yes.
Yeah.
Because, the parts cards are also a chance to sort of talk and think and discuss.
Exactly.
Allie, while you're getting that ready, says one of her favorite things about Montessori is using more advanced vocabulary. My son's preschool always shortens the rainbow to purple. Meanwhile, he's known indigo violet since 2 from this approach.
Yes.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I love it.
And it's so empowering for kids too. And it comes, of course, it's very specific to the age. Maria lived in an age of where science was really into describing things very, very precisely. That was this late 19th century time, and it continues on, right? We live still in that tradition. And she just thought that children should have that same kind of understanding. So when you continue in the life sciences, you're just going to get further and further into it, into that level of description. It's really fun.
So I'm not going to do the whole layout, but I just want to point out a couple of the things that is actually really cool about parts cards, probably that our members are more familiar with. So there's a couple ways that you can do them. The way that we primarily teach members how to use them is to lay out the picture cards first. And don't worry about the words yet. So you're going to lay out the picture cards first, and then you're actually going to match the words to them. if your child, you can read it out loud. Can you find that annulus? Let's find the annulus.
Well, to be clear, you would have already introduced the words, and now, right, you've already taught them these words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're matching.
Yeah. So now they're kind of, it's the second part of the lesson.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And then also, so after you've matched the picture to the word, then you can find the control card, which helps you to check. Okay, so that is one way that you can introduce that you could do this big layout on a rug is first you match the picture to the word, and then you match the control card to check your work. Okay.
Yep.
Another way that you can do it, and probably it's the easier way to do the work, is to start with a control card, and I would do this with younger children, and then to match the picture to the control card. Okay, and then the word to the control card. Right, so those are two different ways that you can try out using your parts cards. Neither one is better than the other. It's easier to match, visually discriminate picture to picture and word to word. It's harder to match the word to the picture and then to check your work.
Well, I feel like you're really exercising slightly different muscles too when you're doing this, right?
Yeah. So you might play around with the way that you're presenting them. We also recommend that with our youngest children, we only, would work with the control cards, for quite a while.
That's right.
Only the controls.
And only a few of them.
And just a few of them at a time. That you're laying out a few, and we usually say maybe work with 5 at a time. You can work with up to 8, but maybe even just 3 at a time. And you're just looking at, here's the stipe, and I'm going to get my real life mushroom, and look, here's the stipe. Look, there are the spores. Here's the fruiting body.
You can't see the spores.
Can't see them. They're too tiny. They're so tiny. Okay, and then there's one more thing that I want to bring up, because we could just keep going on and have another 45 minutes just about what to do with parts cards, friends. But I want to bring up that something else that we include in our theme packs is some blanks. And I think that these are probably underused by our members right now. So I'll be doing more demonstrations with these in the future. But this is actually making a little parts of a mushroom book. I don't know if you can see that here, if it's bright enough, but it actually says Parts of a Mushroom by Aubrey. And then you would actually make the pages that go into a little parts cards book. And in the classroom, this was actually the interesting part. Like these cards, sure, doing the layout was actually the prerequisite that you had to do in order to get to the fun part,
so
which is
know the
making your own little book. But this was the part, when I taught kindergarten, this is the part they were interested in, was the hands-on part. And this is another way of making it a tactile experience. So you would take your red colored pencil, either red. Which red do you like today?
I like this darker red.
Do you like red orange? Do you like the darker red? Just the red. Oh,
red.
Yes. And then you would take your control cards, and you're going to just have these control cards all in a nice little stack. And you're going to do away with those. You don't need them right now. And just one by one, you're going to make your own version of these. So you will go ahead and color the cap here. So you guys didn't know you're going to get a whole little lesson when you joined us on the Montessori Power Hour this morning, right? All right, so let's say I've colored the cap. Actually, it doesn't take very much time. And then I'm going to write the word cap. And I'm going to write mine in cursive imperfectly. Cap. All right. And then this way you can make your own little book. This is actually super motivating for kids and it's just very, very easy, but it really does bring the whole thing to life. And then they have a little book, and if they wanted to, on the back, they could maybe start to write a story, or they could add more pictures, or I don't know, whatever they want to do is totally fine. But this is another way of making it fun and a hands-on material. So the cards are resources to get you to
The creation.
The creation, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope that that is just a little fun insight into what parts cards can do and why we provide them. We've decided this year to provide parts cards with every single theme pack that's coming up.
Because you can do parts cards on anything.
Yes. And
There's really
so
no limit.
for the next 12 months at least, like there's going to be parts cards in there, you
Yeah.
know. So I want you to be creative with them and have fun.
So let's go back to her question. I know we only have a little bit of time left, and I don't want to miss our awesome game. But
Okay.
is this really all there is? That's what I liked about her question.
Yes.
She says,
Is it
"Is it
really
really
as
as simple as talking about what we observe and reading books?" Well, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, it can. It can be that simple.
Yeah.
Do you have to have parts cards? No, they're just a resource. Could you just get a book from the library about mushrooms and read about mushrooms? Yeah, you could. I think that it's going to be more important if you also go to the grocery store and buy some mushrooms and cook some mushrooms and dissect them.
Yeah.
And then you go out in the yard and take pictures of the ones that pop up. You know, teach your child about mushrooms in different contexts that are relevant to them. But yeah, it's just that simple.
I mean, at the end of it's really what, as Maria teaches us, the child has this innate ability to learn. And in some sense, what we're trying to do is get out of their way. Or in a more positive way, I would say we're trying to prepare that environment so that they have a delicious meal in front of them of good, healthy stuff to eat. And those are the lessons and the materials that you might give them in the prepared environment. And then from that, they will go forth and do. And actually, their brains are just so on fire to acquire information and start making connections that you can't hardly hold them back. Like you really have to work to hold them back. So yeah, having a rich environment where you're reading and talking and have an attitude, a Montessori mindset about learning and growth, yeah, you can go a long way. All right. That is a good one. I love those parts cards.
You know, it's time for.
What?
It's joke time.
Oh, wait. Is it joke time?
It is. It's joke time.
Joke time.
Ta-da! Hey everybody, it's me.
Hey, Hedgehog.
Hi.
Do you have a joke for us today?
Yep, I sure do. It's a hedgehog joke.
Okay.
What do hedgehogs like on their hamburgers?
What do hedgehogs like? Hey. What do hedgehogs like on their hamburgers? Well, I don't know. Are you guys? I guess I thought. Are you vegetarians or are you insects or? I don't know.
It's extra prickles.
Extra prickles. Not pickles, prickles.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Waka waka.
Waka waka is a trademark of the Jim Henson Corporation.
That makes sense because our kids we cannot keep pickles in our house.
I know, we just bought a gigantic container of pickles. And
Yes, this happens
I think
over
they're gone
and
already.
over. We never learn our lessons about pickles. I know. Probably need to write a big sign. 1 pickle a day. One.
what did our youngest came by yesterday at like 10 at night and it's time for my nightly picklectomy or something. And then he ate or something. He ate a big pickle.
All right, that is so great.
Well, I hope you like parts cards as much as you like hedgehog jokes. Because if you do, then you should join us over at Child of the Redwoods. If you're not already a member, we would love to have you. Now is a great time to join. We have just rolled out our new plans. We have our theme of the month plan, which is what it sounds like. You get a new theme every month. This month is farm. What we got next month is bounty.
Bounty.
It's going to be good. And we have cave coming up in I think October. So some good stuff. And that is just each month you get a new theme. That's going to be good. If you want to actually get the full curriculum, that's our complete curriculum plan, which includes our cards. And if you want to have live coaching on both the primary and the lower elementary curriculum, then you can join at the unlimited level. And we're enrolling now. We offer both an annual and a 12 monthly installment plan. So you have flexibility to join. And we'd love to have you over there.
We would love to have you over there. Well, it is. Thank you so much for sharing the Child of the Redwoods news. It's game time.
Oh.
Yeah. So David and I are going to play a game for you guys, and it's a fun one. This actually is. It's going to start off with this. Oh good. It's a mystery on there. I see. What do you think is in this teeny tiny bag? Oh, don't look. No peeking. No peeking. This bag actually was made by our oldest at his little forest school. Brought it home. He made the tiniest bag in the world. And I was so delighted because I was like, oh, I love bags. It's a Montessori thing. Collect little bags and things. So anytime you see like one of those little wallet coin purse type of things, that is, I don't know, if you see a woman over there like opening and shutting them and getting all excited, it's probably a Montessori teacher. I know, cannot have enough use. But actually, I have put 2 mysteries inside this teeny tiny bag. And David doesn't know what they are.
That's true. I don't know what they are.
Okay, so you're going to close your eyes.
I have to close my eyes as well?
Okay, you don't have to close them.
Okay. It's in a bag. Okay,
Well,
my eyes are closed.
No looking inside the bag. All right, now I'm going to give you the bag, and oh no. I mean, your fingers are a lot bigger than mine. Can you reach in here? So you're going to reach in here, and you're going to feel.
Ooh.
See if you can get 2 fingers in there. Can you feel what it is? What do you feel? Can you pick an object? And then you're going to keep your eyes closed. Take out the object.
It's a cube.
Okay.
Maybe it's the top of the pink tower?
Just one object. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is!
It was the top of the pink tower.
Awesome.
Okay. It's the first object. Yes. Tell us why this is important.
Well, first off, it's super fun because it's teeny tiny. And when you put it on the top of the pink tower, it just seems so cool because the pink tower, the bottom one, is so big. And that is really fun. It's really fun to like I have to manipulate it. It's so cool because it is perfectly square, or at least to the naked eye. And it just feels miniature because you know that there's a bigger one. It's also cool because mathematics, like it is, they are precisely smaller as in diminishing sizes from the biggest to the smallest. So it's a classic.
Now, a lot of people don't know this, but there's actually a sensitive period for teeny tiny things.
Oh.
Yes, for small objects. So Maria Montessori identified this, and she noticed her children really love looking for teeny tiny things. And so if you think about something like the pink tower, that's why there's a teeny tiny one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. All right, stick your larger than mine fingers in here. I was like, this is gonna be so fun. Okay.
I think I know what it is.
All right.
It's an elephant. It is the 3B bar.
It is the 3B bar.
Yay!
Yes.
Well, the 3B bar is bigger than the pink tower, but they're both kind of pink.
They're both small.
They are small. That's right. Well, of
Yeah.
course, they are in a small bag.
This is one of our colored beads. Why do you think I chose it today?
I think you chose it because they're kind of a similar color.
They're both pink.
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're both small.
Yeah. If I could have I probably could have fit one of the pink color tablets in here as well.
Oh, yeah, that'd be
That
fun.
would have been really fun. All right.
Now it's your turn.
It's my turn. Now, should I close my eyes?
No, because it's in a bag already.
Okay. Okay. You don't have to hold it so tightly. I know what this is.
What is it?
This is the snake for the snake game.
Let's see.
Okay.
It's the snake for the snake game. Now that is a fun one. What is that all about?
Okay, the snake for the snake game is actually, it's appropriate that I put one of our
Yes.
colored beads on here, although we didn't
plan
we
it.
didn't
Yeah.
plan it that way. But yeah, you would line up your colored beads, and then you would play the exchange game to turn it from a colored, rainbow-colored snake into a golden snake.
That's right.
And then you'd count it up. So it's really just about learning addition. Yeah, and subtraction as well.
And it's fun.
And it's fun. Okay,
All right.
is there one more in there?
There is.
All
I
right.
think you're going to have a hard time with this one.
Okay, so we got a snake. We got a colored bead.
Got some
We got a
colored bead.
cube.
Yep.
And there's one more thing.
One more
I'm very
thing.
curious if we're going with like the math sensorial theme here. If that's
Okay.
what I'll find.
Well, you have to get this one right for for you to get the same score as me.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's wooden. It's not hot or cold. It's very room temperature. And it is cylindrical. This is one of the cylinders for the cylinder block.
Let's see. She's too good, folks. She's just that good.
Now, which cylinder block is it? I have no idea. I don't have them memorized. So there's block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, but I don't know which is which.
Yeah, I don't know either.
It's just not something that's important that goes in my brain. I know that there are 4 cylinder blocks, and this must be one of them. I don't know
You
which
are
one.
correct. So,
All right, well, I love it. We've got 2 sensorial
Yes.
materials here and 2 math materials here.
that's right.
So fun. So the mystery bag game is something that you can play at home with your child as
Definitely.
well. You can play with anything in your house. It's fun. It stimulates the stereognostic sense if you want to get a little
Even
bit
a
nerdy.
little hedgehog puppet could go in there.
It could. It could. Or the hedgehog could choose the things inside.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah, learning should be playful. Montessori shouldn't just be about shelf work. We'll make that the title of another episode.
Yeah, let's just underscore that. Don't be afraid to have a lot of fun and be joyful. So much, I feel like education has gotten so serious and dry, and it has been going that way for years and years. It started
Yeah.
with the testing movement. There's all kinds of reasons for it. Some have come from good places and some don't. But at the end of the day, we as humans love to learn. It's joyful.
And we love to play.
Yes.
And we love to get silly.
Don't rob that from it. You'll be happier as a human being if you lean into that joy of learning with your own little ones and yourself.
Yes. So if any of you is wondering what our teaching style is like with our own kids, it's really goofy. It's really, really goofy. And I know Montessori gives the impression of something that is very serious and just like present the thing, do the
Yeah.
presentation. But in real life, the way we give lessons to our kids is with lots of puns and lots of jokes and lots of like wink, wink.
I mean, as far as we know, Maria herself was a very
Yes.
fun and playful teacher.
And that is what I was going to say. And that is actually true to the Montessori method.
I mean, she was very serious about her work, but she was very playful
Oh
with
my gosh, she giggled with the children all the time. The children would do things and Maria would point out really silly things, like the fact that fish have gills and mushrooms have gills. And she and the kid would have just like had this big giggle fit.
Yep.
And what Maria loved to do that was carried on into the tradition that I learned in Montessori was that this kind of like partnership of like collaborative joy is really part of it. So
Yeah.
in Montessori, when you're giving a lesson, like it's almost like you're sharing these little funny secrets with your child and you're highlighting little funny things about the world that the two of you can share together as a joke. And so what you want is in real life for your child to, I don't know, go to the museum and see a boring lecture on mushrooms and then like wink wink to you about gills and like be secretly amused. And that's the point that you'll know that your child like has had a really good solid educational background.
Yeah, they were.
Because learning should be joyful and they're going to go out there in the world and experience a lot of boring lectures and there's going to be expectations on them that are joyless, and you want them to have the ability to find the silliness, to be able to make the connections, to know that they're smart, no matter how they do on a test later on, and just just have fun.
Totally.
To see learning
Absolutely
is
right.
fun and joyful, and for that to be part of their hearts forever.
All right. Well, I know it's time to go. I did promise Angelica an answer, and I know she had to step off, but we're going to answer very quickly, and then Angelica will answer it more thoroughly in the community. But if you've been hanging on for an answer, the answer is you're going to blend the cards together. You're going to use the theme cards that come in your theme pack as the center of your each week, and then you're going to add foundational cards to that, and that's your lesson planning.
Now, actually, viewers don't know this, but David and I actually recorded a little series of tutorials. They are on our website right now at childoftheredwoods.com, and the page that you would want to go to is called How It Works. And you've put all 3 of the little videos that we recorded the other day, and it really does, I think, help to show you what to do, how to use our system.
Yeah.
So go there. The videos are very, very short. They're like 90 seconds to 2 minutes long
less,
each.
Yeah, there's like, yep.
Yeah, super, super short. Will be a really good how-to, just beginning tutorial for our new curriculum.
All right.
That is it, friends.
Well, I hope you guys have a great week ahead. If you'd like to know more about our work, you can reach out to us at hello@childoftheredwoods.com. You can reach us on our website. You can see it here at the bottom. We have a little chat feature there.
There it is.
And if we're around, we will definitely answer that. If we don't answer, just send us an email at hello. All right. Are you ready to say goodbye? It's sad to say goodbye. But we will see you next week.
I'll see you in our community, friends. Love you.
Bye.
Mwah.